Some men are pretty serious, and when they say, please read this carefully before assembly, they mean every damn word of it. How? Let's find out. So hello ladies and gentlemen, this is part 2 of the Tamiya 1/35th scale British 25 pounder artillery gun with limber carrier and quad tractor. And today in this video we are going to look at the build of the Morris quad tractor. So grab a cup of coffee, or if you want to drink along, grab your favorite single malt or blended scotch and follow along as I build the Morris tow tractor. Now, the Morris tow tractor was actually a four-wheeled armored vehicle that was designed and built to transport the 25 pounder field gun and limber carrier into the battlefield. So the limber carrier and artillery guns basically connected to the quad tractor with a tow hook assembly. And this helped to increase the mobility of the field guns, making it much easier for them to transport into various battle scenarios. So the build of the tow tractor actually starts with the wheel and axle assembly, and the very first step says each wheel should be constructed to revolve. Do not glue parts B21 and B17 together. And when it says that, you have to follow the instructions so that the wheels rotate freely. Now your gut feel might say that you need to glue everything together, and I did end up making that mistake on a few occasions in this build. But it's important that you read the instruction and follow it exactly the way it is mentioned. So here you can see that I've cut out the parts for the wheel assembly from the sprues, and I am currently assembling all of those parts together. And then with the axle assembly ready, I fixed the wheel, and here you can see how beautifully it rotates, and it's meant to rotate that way. Now this is the rear wheel assembly, and I similarly followed up with the assembly of the front wheel parts, again cutting out the axles and assembling together the wheels and rims. Now here you can see that there is this little notch that is created when you assemble the axle with the front wheels, and that is the axle part where the connecting bar or the drive shaft kind of connects, and this is how you need to connect it. Now the fixing of the winch, it clearly mentions that winch wheels C3 and C4 should be made to revolve. Do not put too much adhesive on them. Cement part C29 to the chassis. So you have to follow it exactly, and there is no gluing required in these parts. These parts are meant to rotate or help the wheels to rotate, and so they have to be assembled in exactly the way that Tamiya mentions. Now, although pictorially you can see that the instructions are pretty nice and they give you all the steps to follow, but then it is imperative that you read the side text of the instructions that are mentioned, because you could end up making the mistake of gluing a part together, which is actually recommended not to be glued. Right, here you can see that I've assembled the air and fuel tanks, and then I moved on to the assembly of the engine. Now this part, which is the drive belt of the engine, basically it has nice alignment notches. However, you have to be careful on which direction they will align in, and for that you need to look at the instructions very carefully. I then moved on to the assembly of the little parts on the engine. Now these are a little fiddly. They're very small, but then they add in all that detail into the overall engine assembly. And here you can see that I am finally fixing the engine drive fan, and once that is done, then I moved on to the assembly of the plumbing lines of the engine as per the given instructions. I then followed up with the assembly of the axle cantilevers. The four of them, they fit very easily, and then they have this little locking bit on top of them. And finally, when everything was done, I assembled the engine in the center of the chassis. Once I was satisfied with the positioning of the parts in the chassis, I moved on to the painting of the engine. I primed it with Bosny Gray plastic primer and then used the Granatone metallic gray. Now this is a very nice gray and it gives a very nice metallic finish, or rather a gunmetal type of finish to the overall engine. And I dry brushed it, following it up with the painting of the drive fan. And once that was done, I started off with the assembly of the cabin floor. Now the 6 seats are going to be mounted on the cabin floor. So I began assembling the seats as per the instructions. You can see they're very small parts, but then the alignment notches are so nice and they fit so well that the only thing you have to do is cut the parts off the sprues, do a little bit of cleanup and assemble all of them. And here are all the 6 seats assembled together. Now similarly, I started construction of the dashboard assembly and the gear mechanism. So here you see the gear levers and the 4-wheel drive levers. I think those are the 4-wheel drive levers. And these parts, again, they were very fiddly, so you have to be very, very patient. And you can see how they're just running away and don't want to fit into the notches, although the notches were very nicely aligning with the rest of the parts. And here you can see me assembling the seats. Again, flawless Tamiya assembly. I followed up the seats with the assembly of the headlamps. And then gave a single coat of Army Painter Green onto the middle part of the chassis. Now there's some conflicting information on the interior color of the cab. Some documents, they say that the cab is interior green, the way I have painted it here. Some say that they are the same color as the outer body, and the others say that they are pure gray. But I went with the green colors because the green looks nice. And here you can see me using some acrylic paint pens to detail the seats. I wanted to show a leather brown color on the seats, and here you can see that they come out pretty nice. I then continued the assembly with the flawless assembly of the front hood, or bonnet as you might call it in British English. So here you can see me assembling the entire bonnet section of the cab, and then put the tarpaulin on the top, and then finally decided to work on the person, the man, the soldier, the driver who's going to drive the cab. So here you can see that the figure is provided in different parts. So I assembled them together, no problems there. And then I finished up the cab with the assembly of the final piece of the bonnet. This literally fits in with a click, as you can see there. I then decided to move on to the painting phase. Right, so as per the Tamiya instructions, the figure is supposed to be painted in this sand color. And so I used my improvised Fevicryl sand color, which of course I painted on the rest of the body of the cab as well. And here you can see me using the same acrylic paint pens to detail a few more things in the figure, like his socks, his boots, his face. And these colors are pretty nice, and they give a very nice finish in the end to the surface that you're painting. I finished up the figure with painting of the hat or the cap, and then installed the figure inside the middle chassis. Now this is a little difficult. You have to be very careful not to damage the steering wheel, and I was able to achieve that. Then moved on to the painting of the rest of the cab. Now since this was a single color scheme, it was very easy. I just finished off the painting within one sitting of about an hour or so to detail the paint on the Morris cab. And finally, it was time for the weathering. Once the paint had dried up, I used Tamiya panel line accent color. I wanted to show a very weathered look on the Morris tractor, so I liberally applied the Tamiya wash on the doors, on the rest of the body as well. And once it was dry, I cleaned off with a cotton Q-tip. I did the same thing, applied the wash to the driver inside, and the finished article looks very, very nice in the end. The last step was to assemble the interior windows and windshields, and these also fit very nicely. They've got clicking notches in there, and you can't make a mistake with the direction that you're fitting them in. They fit absolutely perfect. And finally, it was time for the decals. So unlike the artillery gun and the limber carrier, which had only one decal amongst the two of them, the Morris tractor had a couple of decals. They conformed nicely to the surface, and they were Tamiya decals, so no problem with that at all. I used my standard procedure of applying these decals. And once the decals were firmly positioned on the surface, I made a few final adjustments with a tweezer, and then cleaned up the excess with a cotton Q-tip. All right then, finally, after sealing everything with a flat matte varnish, the final assembly of the three parts, that is the lower chassis, the middle cab, and the upper chassis, was accomplished. Now these fit very, very nicely. They have alignment notches inside them, and you can't make a mistake while fitting them because all of them, they fit with specific clicks. And here you can see that the Morris tractor is ready. So let's mount the limber carrier and the artillery gun behind the Morris tractor. And into battle we go. Alright, so here's the completed Morris tractor in 1/35 scale from Tamiya. A wonderful kit to work with. I would recommend this kit for beginners and advanced modelers alike. It has just enough parts to keep the build very, very enjoyable. There is no filler required, so the parts fit very well indeed. I took the build one step at a time, building the limber carrier first, then the artillery gun, and then the Morris tractor. And I saw that the level of difficulty keeps increasing if you go about assembling it in that order. But again, it entirely depends on how you want to build it. I built the limber carrier first because that helped me build up the momentum. So thank you very much for watching. Do like, subscribe, and comment. Bye-bye. Take care.